Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my movie vlog. My name is John Campea, and this is a special companion video that I do most days. You see, every day on the John Campea Show and on Open Mic, I take your live questions, but sometimes I don't have time to get around to all of them. But I want to make sure you guys know that if you send in a live question during the shows, they do get answered. So I'm here today to pick up the slack on where I missed off on those other questions as I reset my camera a little bit. So these are the questions I didn't get around to earlier. So let's jump into it right off the bat. And we get things going with Ulysses Huggins, who sent in, watch that awesome Fantastic Beasts trailer yet? You know what? It's funny. It was mentioned on the movie news feed on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. I am not a Potterhead. I am not a giant Harry Potter fan. I like the last 4 or 5 movies in the franchise. I enjoyed them. I had a good time with them. I actually quite like the last one a lot, but I'm not a major Harry Potter fan by any stretch of the imagination. And I liked the first Fantastic Beasts movie, but I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. I thought the trailer was great. I thought this new trailer for this new Crimes of Grindelwald looked fantastic. It felt magical, pardon the pun. It felt like it had a great sense of wonder to it. Everything that the wizarding world of Harry Potter is supposed to have, I felt like this trailer had it. So yes, I did see it, and I gotta admit, I loved it. I really loved it. And for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, I'm really excited for a movie in the Harry Potter wizarding world. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it. All right, next one comes to us from Esther Cuenca, who writes, would Marvel course correct if they had a flop? You said they weren't reactive. Oh, and they're not reactive. And no, if they had one flop, they would not do anything different. Because look, they've got what, 18 films in the MCU now? 17, 18, 19, some stupid big number like that. And they have yet to have a flop. The law of averages says eventually you're going to have a flop. By now, most studios would have had 2, 3, or 4 flops out of 17 or 18 or 19 films. Maybe 5, 6, 7, or 8 flops. Who knows? They haven't had a single one yet. If, when the inevitable happens, and it is inevitable, at some point, if Marvel keeps cranking out movies at the pace of 2 or 3 a year, at some point, you're going to get one that's critically panned, that the audience doesn't like, and it doesn't perform well at the box office. It's just the law of average. Eventually that will happen. But the thing is, the people at Marvel, Kevin Feige and his bosses, Alan Horn, Bob Iger, his bosses, they know that, hey, one bad one is going to happen. So let's say for whatever reason, Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out and it's a total disaster. From a quality point of view and from a financial point of view, it's just a total disaster. It won't make them blink. They won't blink. They'll just carry on business as usual. Say, oh, well, we had one bad one. Oh, well, just keep going ahead with our plan. Just keep moving forward with the plan. That's what they'll do. So no, they're not reactionary. Now, if they have 3 flops in a row, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6 of their next films are flops, then maybe that's not that wouldn't be reactive. At that point, you've got a long established trend of things happening. Then you have to reassess where you're at. If that were to happen to Marvel, I'm sure they would reassess. But like one film comes up and flop, no, they're not course correcting after one. They'll just see that as a bump in the road and they'll just keep going. All right, let's move on. Next one comes to us from Padraic, who writes, best Marvel villain, Loki or Magneto? Well, if you're talking just in the MCU and in the movies, I'll go Loki. I think Loki is an even better villain than Magneto. If you're talking about in the comic books, Magneto, period. Magneto is my all-time favorite comic book character. Not my all-time favorite villain, not my all-time favorite X-Men character, not my all-time favorite Marvel character. My all-time favorite comic book character is Magneto. I think Eric Lehnsherr is one of the most misunderstood, underappreciated characters in the history of comics. I just think he's fascinating as a character. And so, but if you're just talking movies, particularly in the MCU or in, the Fox movie, whatever, I'll actually take Loki on that one. I think they've just portrayed Loki a little bit more of an interesting way. IanNguyenDo writes, when do you think Supernatural will end? 15 seasons? Maybe more? I don't know, man. At this point, who can tell? Look, I'm a viewer of Supernatural. I love Supernatural. I could hang out with, Cass and Dean and Sammy and those guys. I could hang out with them for the next 20 years. I'm having so much fun watching that show, and the audience just keeps watching. So as long as the audience keeps watching, and Padalecki and, oh, what's the other guy's? I'm forgetting the name of the other guy's names. Jared and, why am I forgetting the other guy's name? Anyway, as long as these two guys enjoy playing the role and the show keeps getting viewers, it's going to keep going. It could go past 15, 16, 17 seasons. Who knows when they come out? There's certainly no shortage of stories you could tell, so it could be going for quite a while. All right, next one comes to us from Angel Sanchez, who writes, favorite Nolan film, excluding the Dark Knight films. Well, that's easy because my favorite Nolan film is not one of the Dark Knight films. Oddly enough, my favorite Christopher Nolan film is not a Batman film. It's actually what I believe is his most underappreciated film, Insomnia. Insomnia is frickin' brilliant. I love that movie. I just think it's smart. It's tense. It's got some iconic actors with some fantastic performances. Insomnia is brilliant. You got Al Pacino, you got Robin Williams. I mean, it is my favorite film of Christopher Nolan's, and I wish more people would give it a shot and really check it out. But that's my favorite Christopher Nolan film. All right, let's move on here. Royce Freeman writes, do you feel the 70s exploitation films like Last House, The Hills Have Eyes, Spit on Your Grave are okay not shying away? Do you think the films like The Last House, Hills Have Eyes, Spit on Your Grave are okay not shying away? I gotta admit, Royce, I'm not exactly sure what it is you're asking. Like, you mentioned a bunch of classic of these films. A couple of them had to have remakes already. Okay, not shying away. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking, so maybe fire me in an email or something like that and clarify what it is you're asking. Maybe I can address it another time. All right, Chris Bradford writes, Will Smith is the best rapper turned actor in my opinion. Well, I think what you're referring to is, in another show earlier this week, somebody gave me a list of rappers that turned actors and asked me which one I think did the best job. Will Smith was not on that list, so I didn't mention Will Smith. But I believe clearly, I remember Common was on that list and I said Common. And I stand by that. I think Common, out of the list that was presented to me of rappers turned actors, Common is the best one. But if you're to ask me overall, you say pick any rapper turned actor, who do you think is the best? I'll agree with you. I think it is Will Smith. Will Smith is an Academy Award nominated actor for a reason. He's turned into a damn good actor. He's probably a better actor than he was a rapper. So I will completely agree with you on that, Chris. Will Smith is the best rapper turned actor. Let's see. Master Nameless, nice name, I like that, writes, hey, John, here's something to ease your mind. Star Wars on screen are actually canon, and everything else are Star Wars legends. Well, I mean, that kind of used to be the way it was, but it's not the way they say it is now. For those of you who follow me and have watched me for any period of time, you know, one of my big irks right now is the fact that they are playing so fast and loose with what canon is. They came out years ago and said, okay, now everything we do is canon. Comics, novels, novelizations, the movies, it's all canon. But now they're doing things where some things in novelizations completely contradict what's in the movies. You have things like things that happen in the movies are completely out of pace with things that they do in the books that just do not match up and blah, 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 blah. And now come the excuses. Well, the novelization is canon if it doesn't contradict with movies. Well, wait a minute. Then that's not canon. Canon is canon. Canon means there are no asterisks. Canon means there are no exceptions. Canon means it's canon. And as soon as you start saying, except when, then it's not canon anymore. And you guys know I've been harping on that for a while. My blood gets boiling over that. And hey, it's an incredibly tough job. I do not envy those guys at Lucasfilm who are trying to keep all of this stuff in order. It's almost an impossible job, and they're doing a far better job than I ever would. But I think it's just time to call it a defeat. Hey, we had this idea that everything was canon. It's not working. It's too tough to keep it all consistent. Let's just acknowledge the movies are canon. Everything else is something else. I don't know. I just think it's time to get back to that. All right, let's see here. Angelo Guida writes, are you excited for The Dark Crystal, The Age of Resistance? Yeah, if they ever actually make it. For those of you who don't know what The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance is, so one of the great classic movies is The Dark Crystal. I love The Dark Crystal. I love The Dark Crystal. Anyway, about a year ago, Netflix shocks the world announcing they've got a new series coming, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. But that was a year ago. Now on the official site, it says it comes in 2019. So I have no idea if it's actually going to happen. I just do not know. I haven't heard them say it's not happening, but it's just like, why give us a teaser trailer in early 2017 if it's not coming out for at least 2 years? I almost wish I didn't know about it right now, because it just feels like it's still forever away. And we don't actually have a date. I don't know if it's coming in January of 2019. I don't know if it's coming in December of 2019. So I have no idea at this point, which is a little bit frustrating, to be honest. So I'm dying for it, but I just wish I didn't know about it yet. Honestly, I wish I didn't know about it till it was like within a year of it coming out. So anyway, let's see. Johnny Oseguera writes, when Man of Steel came out, I just thought, meh, it's another Superman movie. Then my friend dragged me to the theater to watch it, and man, I'm glad I did. Well, I mean, come on. You guys have heard me talk about Man of Steel. You know that I freaking love that movie. I think it is a masterpiece of the comic book genre. I really, really do. It's in my top 10 favorite comic book films of all time. I believe people miss the genius in that movie. I mean, all films subjective. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But from my point of view, I think people just miss the genius in the film. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. And easily the best of the DCEU films so far. All right, next one comes to us from Jed Jensen, who writes, speaking of Man of Steel, why do you think so many people found you after Man of Steel? Yeah, so if you guys have followed me for any period of time, quite often I will get people send in messages or emails that start with, hey, John, been following you since the Man of Steel review. I don't know. I do not know what it is about that one review in particular that so many people who are familiar with my work found me from that one particular review. I don't know what it was. It's not even like the highest viewed review we ever did or that I ever did. Sorry, guys, I got to check my phone because I'm ordering groceries. So it's not, I mean, you're ordering groceries. Why do you got to check your phone? Because I got somebody picking up my groceries because I'm busy. Anyway, it's not like it's the highest viewed movie review I've ever done. It's not. But for whatever reason, it seems like most people who found my stuff or who say they found us through one particular video, usually it's from that video, and I have no idea why. If you guys have any opinions on that or theories on that, by all means, send me your theories. I'd like to know. All right. Tommy Wenberg writes, don't worry about mispronouncing my name because I'm always butcher names. It's Dutch. What's a movie you wish people talked about more? For me, it's the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, Brad Pitt, Casey Affleck. Great film. For me, a film that I really, really appreciate that nobody ever talks about, like never talks about. And it's a Steven Spielberg film. It's actually my favorite Steven Spielberg film is Amistad. Amistad with Anthony Hopkins. You've got Matthew McConaughey. It's the film that introduced us to Djimon Hounsou, and Djimon has gone on to have a great Hollywood career. Morgan Freeman. I mean, it's so powerful. It's so gut-wrenching. And it was a little bit ahead of its time. Amistad is just a movie that is pure brilliance to me. It's relevant. It has message. It's also dramatically very entertaining. It's Spielberg at his best. I love Amistad, and no one ever talks about Amistad. So the assassination of Jesse James is a great one. I would also put Amistad right up there, the Steven Spielberg classic. That's just one I wish more people appreciated, more people talked about. All right. Bobby M. writes, do you think Steve and Amell will be able to break into movies after Arrow ends? To me, the longer Arrow goes and is mediocre, the less likely it seems. Yeah, it's a conundrum. Stephen Amell, I believe, is one hell of a talented dude. And I think we have seen him grow and evolve as an actor and get better and better and better and better. He wasn't a great actor when he started, but as Arrow progressed, we just visibly saw him get better and better. And I think he's just a terrific actor now, really a fine actor. Top 10, top 20 best actors in the business? No, but a really fine actor nonetheless. Unfortunately, he got this one big role in a big movie, which was the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, playing Casey. So badly written, bad film, and I like the previous Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but the sequel was just terrible. And his character was badly written. There was nothing Stephen Amell could have done to make himself look good in that. The script made sure of that. Unfortunately, people see Stephen Amell in that role. It's a bust. And now I think that unfortunately and unfairly, that gets carried along with him. I think you're right. He's going to have a hard time breaking into the movies. He may have a hard time breaking into the movies, but he could have a very successful and long career in television. Like whenever Arrow ends, another TV show will pick him up. Within 2 or 3 years that Arrow ends, he will be picked up as one of the lead roles in another show. Of that, I have very little doubt. And I think he'll just continue to grow and be great. But breaking into the movie business, because of, in my opinion anyway, the mediocrity that Arrow's turned into, as well as the unfortunate thing that he got, lumped into this bad film, it's going to hurt his chances getting into the movie business. But as a television career, I think his talent just keeps evolving, and I think he'll have a long and very successful career. All right. Next one comes to us from Harsh Bade, who writes, over under 40%. The Rock will cameo as Black Adam in the SHAZAM movie. I'm going to take the under on that. It's just been forever. We've heard no indication that he was going to be a part of that. And I just got a feeling that when they are going to introduce us to The Rock in a DC film, it ain't going to be some cameo. It's going to be a big entrance in a big movie. So, hey, it's totally possible. If you set the over-under number at 10%, I might take the over on that. But to me, 40% is way too high of a chance. I don't see it happening, so I'm going to take the under on that 40%. Chris Oldfield writes, seen Odd Thomas with Anton Yelchin had me bawling. Yeah, Anton Yelchin, that was like in 2012, 2013. It was directed by Steven Sommers, who's the same guy who directed like G.I. Joe, the first G.I. Joe movie. And the first Mummy movie was actually pretty fun. I thought it was okay. The supernatural element to it was pretty cool. It was an okay movie to me. I know the film has its fans. It does make me, thinking about it makes me miss Anton Yelchin, especially with that new film of his, Thoroughbreds. The final film he did is in theaters now. And it's apparently, I haven't got a chance to see it. I'm going to see it tomorrow. But apparently I'm talking to some people who've seen it and they love it. So I can't wait to see it myself. But yeah, it is kind of heart-wrenching to think of the films of Anton Yelchin, taken from us way too soon. All right, the next one comes to us from Nathan C., who writes, I don't know, John. Shy got huge attention from 2000 2003 for his legitimate talent on the Disney Channel. Holes made $73 million. Transformers just got him first. Well, here's the thing. I've had a few people, because what happened was on the John Campea show earlier today, we were talking about how Shia LaBeouf was trash talking the Transformers movies. And I said, well, okay, that's cool. They're not good movies and everything, but nobody would know who you are if it wasn't for those Transformers movies. Now, since then, I've had a bunch of people commenting, John, Shia LaBeouf has been in other things before that. Yes, that's true. But nobody knew the name Shia LaBeouf. Not after his Disney Channel appearances, not after Holes. Nobody knew the name Shia LaBeouf. When he was in Transformers, then Shia LaBeouf became a name we all mispronounced. It was after Transformers that Shia LaBeouf became a name that we all recognized and understood and knew who he was. It was Transformers that did that. I replied to one guy who wrote to me, John, he got a start in the Disney Channel. I said, yeah, but so did 1,000 other young actors whose names you've never heard of today. To me, and maybe I just didn't communicate it the right way when I was doing the John Campea show. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But to me, I think it's clear that the one role that put him on the map, the one role that made him, his name familiar to everybody, that set him up for all of his future success, was the Transformers. It wasn't his appearances on the Disney Channel. It wasn't a film that made $73 million in Holes. It was the Transformers. That's what put his name on the map. That's what put him in a position to succeed and get all the stuff that he gets now. It wasn't Holes. Anyway, so that's just my opinion. You may have a different opinion, which is totally cool, but you're asking me, so I'm giving you my thoughts. All right, this next one comes to us from Backyard Pictures, who writes, Giovanni here. That is also my name, although my name is spelt differently. Giovanni here. Did you like Downsizing? Oh, the Matt Damon film. It was one of the worst movie-going experiences in a long time for me. I'm not sure if you reviewed it. I didn't review it. I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was... I had really high hopes for Downsizing. Really high hopes. Did not meet those expectations. But I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. I certainly thought there was some very, very clever stuff in it. The narrative could have been a little bit more crisp, for sure. There was some kind of cringy stuff in it. I hate using the word cringy, but there's some cringy stuff in it. But I got to admit, overall, I did not mind the film. I'm not rushing out to watch it again or anything like that. I didn't think it lived up to its expectations. I didn't think it lived up to its potential, but I didn't think it was bad. I'm sorry that you had such a bad experience with it, man. That sucks. All right. Let's go to the next one. This one comes to us from In Poor Taste Humor, who writes, any word on Kung Pao 2? The first is my guilty pleasure. No. I remember about, oh gosh, it was a couple years ago. Let me just see if I can get this opened up here. I remember it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. There was some whispers about it. I knew there was some talk about it, but I mean, as far as I know, no. So I don't know if Stephen Odenkirk comes back or anything like that, but no, I have not heard anything about a possible follow-up. I don't even know if the first one did like anything at the box office. I knew it kind of achieved minor cult classic status, but as far as I know, I have heard nothing about like legitimate or solid about a sequel for it. All right, next one comes to us from Troy Taylor, who writes, oh yeah, I love this. All my friends are fighters. Then along comes this guy who spends his life avoiding the fight because he knows he'll win. We were talking the other day. I got off on this sidetrack the other day on the show because I was killing some time waiting for Anne, and Avengers Age of Ultron was on. So I started watching it. I'm like, damn, I'm liking this more than I remember. Like I actually, this is really good. But anyway, I was talking specifically about this great piece of dialogue in it. And man, Whedon can write such great dialogue. Anyway, there's a scene between Banner and Widow standing at the bar, and she's telling him about this guy that she's starting to get a crush on. Obviously, she's talking about him. And she says this line. She goes, all my friends are fighters. Then along comes this guy who spends his life avoiding the fight because he knows he'll win. That is a great line. That is a terrific piece of dialogue. Yes, so thank you, Troy, for bringing that up again. It's a special scene. It's a great piece of dialogue. It's a really heart-touching moment. I really, really dig that scene a lot. Actually, that whole scene in Ultron where they're having the party is just great. All right, next one comes to us from Alpha Adu, who writes, Hulkbuster / Iron Man is seen both in New York City and in Wakanda. Now, wait a minute. Are you talking about the Hulkbuster Iron Suit, or are you saying Hulkbuster / Iron Man? I don't remember seeing Iron Man in Wakanda, if that's what you're suggesting. I do not remember seeing Iron Man in Wakanda in the trailer. But now I have to go back and look, because maybe you're absolutely right. I have to go back and check that out. Because that's in response to something I said earlier today about how if you watch the trailer, the only character in the trailer that we see both in New York City and see him in Wakanda is Hulk. That's the only guy we see in both places. We don't see War Machine in New York. We don't see Black Widow in New York. We don't see Captain America in New York. We don't see Doctor Strange in Wakanda. We don't see Tony in Wakanda. At least I thought we didn't. But you're saying maybe Iron Man is? I'll go back and double check that. Lee Cameron writes, have you seen people doubting this new Tomb Raider actress because of her small chest size? To me, it's an outrage and disgusting. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, there were some people complaining because Academy Award-winning actress Alicia Vikander is not the biggest chested girl in the world, okay. And there is a stereotype that goes along with Lara Croft that she has historically been a very big-chested character. However, in modern incarnations of the game, they have downsized her chest quite a bit because it was never meant to be a key part of her character. All right. It just kind of became a joke and it kind of became a thing, but it was never supposed to be an important part of her character whatsoever. So in the most recent incarnations of the game, they've downsized the size of her chest anyway. So who cares if her chest size is the same chest size? That doesn't make her any stronger or weaker. That doesn't make her any faster or any slower. It doesn't do anything to the character whatsoever. So it is a ridiculous thing to even mention. Let's see. Javier Belmer writes, I think part of the issue with people not accepting the lack of opportunity for females is due to being used to the content we're watching. But the fact is, gender doesn't define quality of content. Well, yeah, one of the things we were talking about on the John Campus show earlier today was the fact that some people complaining that Jessica Jones Season 2 hired just female directors. And somebody was complaining, can you imagine if Luke Cage did that and only hired male directors? Funny thing is, Luke Cage did only hire male directors. All 13 episodes, all directed by male directors. And we point out Daredevil, first season, All 13 episodes, all directed by male actors. And I was pointing out that in Jessica Jones, season 1 was about an even mix of female directors and male directors, right? So about half female directors, half male directors. And Jessica Jones season 1, even though I don't like it, is lauded as one of the most highly critically praised of all the seasons of all the Netflix series. Like, there's a lot of people out there that Jessica Jones season 1 is like the best season of any Netflix Marvel series. I'm not a big fan of it myself personally, but that's the basic critical consensus out there. And it had half of the episodes were directed by women. So my whole point this morning was this whole argument that people try to hide behind and go, oh, well, it's not about hiring a man or a woman. It's about hiring the most talented person. Well, really? Because Jessica Jones had no problem finding really talented, best qualified people who, and half of them were women, to direct Jessica Jones season 1. And it's the most critically praised of all the Netflix series. How come, are you telling me that, how come Luke Cage couldn't find any of them? The Jessica Jones people had no problem finding them. How come the Daredevil people couldn't find any of them? The Jessica Jones people had. Do not try to play this game that women haven't been excluded. Women, we're seeing it. The facts are there. The numbers are there. Women have been excluded. And so it's just funny. I just thought it was really funny that somebody wrote to me today, a fair enough question, but somebody wrote to me today complaining that Jessica Jones only hired female directors and said, imagine if Luke Cage did something like that. As a matter of fact, Luke Cage did do that. And it's just, and it's so disproportional, the amount of women directing in Marvel, these Marvel Netflix shows, compared to the amount of men directors. It's so disproportionate towards the men's side. It's crazy. But anyway, that's just one of the things that came up earlier today. And the final question today comes to us from Phil Lee. And Phil Lee writes, best way to notify you of a missed super chat. Oh, I'm assuming I missed a super chat. It happens once in a while. I'm doing the show live. I'm all by myself. Sometimes I might accidentally skip over a question. Question was, of if Ant-Man dies, how does that affect his movie? You got sidetracked. Oh, if Ant-Man dies, in his standalone movie, or in Infinity War, how does that affect his own thing? Well, I don't think it does affect it, to be honest with you. Because the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, as most of us know by now, takes place before the events of Infinity War. So we know that at this point. If he dies in Infinity War, how does that affect Ant-Man and the Wasp? It might cause a little bit of confusion, but I don't think ultimately... Look, they've got this narrative planned out, I'm sure, from start to finish, every conceivable twist and turn along the way. So it's not going to affect them at all. It could cause some audience confusion. It's like, wait a minute, we just saw Ant-Man die in Infinity War, and now he's got a new movie coming out? That could cause some confusion. Because of that, I do not think there's any chance that Ant-Man dies in Infinity War. Could be totally wrong about that. Don't take that to the bank. I'm just giving you my guess. My guess is there's no way they're going to kill Ant-Man in Infinity War. So I think the question's kind of moot, so I don't really think that's something we need to worry about. But if it did happen and it were to happen, I believe the biggest repercussion is that it would cause some confusion amongst the audience. Other than that, I'm sure they've got it planned out well enough that it really wouldn't cause too much of a bump with their narrative plan. All right, guys, that will do it for me. I am now all caught up with all the Super Chat questions that I didn't have time to get to on the John Campea Show and Open Mic a little bit earlier. Don't forget, the John Campea Show every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. And, of course, Open Mic is every day, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Both of those are in Pacific Standard Time. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.